All right, everybody, we've got a new Minecraft snapshot. And when I say snapshot, it means we're on Java. So now Java has the copper golem, the shelves, all the things that Bedrock has gotten in the last few weeks in the previews, which means I'll be able to play it in the hardcore stream series at some point in the near future, maybe once the mods are updated. In any case, on top of all the stuff being brought up and over to Java from Bedrock, there are a few new things that have been added with this snapshot. One of which is that lightning rods now share all the same oxidation states as everything else with copper. So if you put down a lightning rod and you do not wax it, it will oxidize over time. Of course, you can wax it and then it will maintain whatever its oxidation state is, but this is the 4 different levels of oxidation. These are waxed so that they stayed still as I was setting up this very comprehensive video set. Pretty straightforward. There is also now copper horse armor. It is the same loot table as iron horse armor. You can't craft it. Still, the only one that you can craft is the leather horse armor. This is what it looks like. And I guess it kind of just completes the set of being able to use copper and many, many things and, you know, all the different ingots to make the horse armor. Okay, those are the simple changes here. There's also some really kind of interesting stuff that I think is very, very useful. Okay, so F3 menu. This is why I've brought my head down a little bit so it's more visible. You're used to some more info being displayed on here generally, so you're like, what the frick happened to the F3 menu? I use this all the time when I'm speedrunning and stuff. What's going on? Well, it's been made to be customizable. So this is the default here, at least in this snapshot. If I do, instead of, F3, F4, it switches your game mode. F3, F5 brings up a new menu here for the debug screen. So now you can choose the information that you either don't want displayed only in the F3 menu, or you can even go so far as to have things always displayed on screen. So if I want the biome to be displayed, right, I can just have that up there. And then you might find this useful, for example, if you're trying to get all the advancements, so that you can just quickly glance up and see, okay, so I have hit this particular biome on my quest to, travel through every single biome in Minecraft. Now, this one here is kind of a game changer because for how long now, you're searching for the stronghold, especially on stream, but your entire screen is just covered by the F3 menu, and it's really annoying. Player position can be set to always display. I can set biome back into F3, and now I have a significantly less cluttered screen, and I can be displaying the coordinates. I can also have my webcam kind of where my webcam normally is and not be obstructing the coordinates nearly as much because they're just straight up in the upper left-hand side of the screen. So, man, this is huge. Honestly, really, really cool. And maybe something that would be a little bit overlooked just in this snapshot. I'm sure people are going to realize that it's a thing. But the customizability here is really, really, really nice, I think. Also, you can turn it off completely or, again, just bring it back into F3, and now it's there. And, yeah. Or I might have just disabled it. Oh, no, my XYZ is now over on the right side. Okay. Still getting used to it. But the always display, I think, is pretty cool. Okay, next up, let's go into survival. So normally, if you were doing some cobble generator mining, you'd have to hold down left click, or if you don't have obsidian in the background, you might have to mine and then let go, mine and let go. But let's say, for the sake here, you have something that allows you to just hold down left click. Now, in the past, right, this isn't the most efficient way to do it. Maybe put a hopper down there, or whatever, stand 1 block below just to make it a higher probability the cobble's not going to get incinerated in lava. But we'll ignore that for a second. Let's say that you don't have a beautiful sponsor Logitech G mouse that has a macro or something that you can do that'll automatically hold down left click when you press it once. Well, now what you can do is you can go into your controls, and on top of sneak hold and toggle, sprint hold and toggle, you have attack destroy hold or toggle, and use item / place block hold or toggle. This is pretty big. So attack destroy toggle means if I go back out here and I raise my hands up, I'm going to keep mining. You don't need any additional tools You don't need to put a book down on your mouse if you wanted to AFK and keep mining. You don't need to necessarily have a macro built in, although we do love our Logitech G peripherals, hashtag sponsor. But this is nice. This is really cool. And then you can toggle it again, right? Just with a left click. Might help if you're, say, trying to mine a bunch of obsidian and it's going to take ages and you'd prefer to just, let it go. Be able to talk to chats, interact, make hand gestures while the blocks are still getting mined. How very, very useful. So that's pretty cool. And then we can untoggle it here really quick. Why don't we... And I can get my hands misaligned on the keyboard from doing the gestures and getting back into it. Now, on the other hand, let's say that we wanted to, go into our controls and enable block place toggle. Let's say I just wanted to build up a bit, right? I still am having to hold space. But on the other hand, okay, here's an option, right? Let's go back into our controls and let's set sneak to toggle as well. Right? And so I can now be sneaking, I'll be auto placing, and then accidentally misaligning my keyboard again. Now I can have basically the world's easiest and safest speed bridging that has ever been done. We'll go back into survival here. That way I can just, or creative, so I can keep going. So I still obviously have to be moving in the direction with my keys on the keyboard. However, I have a hand free. I know I'm not going to fall, and I can just keep building indefinitely. A lot of people, they're like, I want a speed bridge. I want to be super fast and whatnot. And sure, you can still do that. But if you just feel like being safe, say you're in hardcore or something like that, you really don't want to take that risk. Well, here you go. Not much of a risk over water, but, say you're doing it through the end or something like that. And then, of course, just toggle. And then you probably, are going to want to just untoggle on both sides and then maybe set your controls back to the way that you would normally have them. But it's, pretty nice to have that option, available. Now, the last thing that has been changed here, it's a harder one to just illustrate, but spawn chunk loading has just been removed. World spawn chunks, do not permanently stay loaded anymore. And so instead it's back to either like nether portal chunk loading or believe that this is a chunk loader here. I've never actually done one of these in a world of mine, but I believe they are as straightforward as that, because when you have a thrown ender pearl, it has to, keep the chunk loaded. So you can do that in order to selectively load your chunks, but I think it's just supposed to be kind of a performance improvement so that you don't have to have these extra unplayed chunks being loaded at any given time. Should just be a slight boost, I assume. And that's the new stuff here for this snapshot. I think that the F3 menu and the toggle on the break and place, that sort of stuff, is actually really, really cool additions. So pretty excited for that. And of course, just getting the copper golems and the shelves and all that onto Java. So thanks for watching. Hopefully you've enjoyed. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to stay tuned for more, and I'll see you later.